Welcome to the first of many Lunch with KUDZUKIAN. I am your operations manager, Misty, and to my right, I have our visionary, the amazing Larry Robinson.
Oh, amazing, huh?
Amazing.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
Hey, everybody, how y'all doing?
So we are excited to have you all, and I'm sure the main question or the question that's top of mind for everybody is, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? We are wanting to bring you and talk about all things as it relates to podcasting. We want to offer our expertise in the podcasting space and give you knowledge. For those of you who are new, who want to start your podcast, that's what we are here for. So, first order of business, KUDZUKIAN. What is KUDZUKIAN and what is it that we do?
Okay, so KUDZUKIAN is a content creator. We started in the podcast space back in 2014. That's right, 2014. So next year will be our 10th year in this business, and
a whole decade.
Yeah, a whole decade of actually starting here. I started this company because I fell in love with podcasting. I used to have to ride the 3 train from Harlem to Midtown, and I kind of fell on this podcast network called the Loudspeakers Network, and it was a cat by the name of Combat Jack. And I fell in love with podcasting. And when I started and I moved back to Memphis full time, I said, you know what? That's what we're going to do. We're going to create a podcast network. And so that's where KUDZUKIAN was created. Started with the first show was R&R on Sports, which is now a nationally syndicated show in over 100 markets. And,
wait, before we get there, because I want to dive deep into how we first started, which is R&R, but kind of going back just a little bit. Like our namesake, KUDZUKIAN, a lot of people don't know. Just give us a brief story, Larry.
The brief story is I'm riding from Memphis to Atlanta, going to the Power of Urban Networking Conference. Shout out to my man, Sherman Kizart. And in Atlanta. And basically what really stood out to me on this trip, specifically between Birmingham and Atlanta on I-20, was all this kudzu growing up on the telephone poles and everything, over the houses, over the grass, over the trees. And I said, wow, it kind of reminds me of how urban culture has had a KUDZUKIAN-like effect on pop culture. You know, it didn't kill pop culture, it just kind of covered it. And I said, wow, KUDZUKIAN, is that even a word? Well, guess what? We made it a word, and now it is a noun. And KUDZUKIAN is us.
Come on! I love it. So, as a follow-up to that, we want to show you right now a video about the services we provide here at KUDZUKIAN. here at KUDZUKIAN, from podcasting, content creation, and now we've grown into a full event production company. But let's go back to the beginning and why we're here. So you talked about R&R on Sports being the very first podcast that we started here at KUDZUKIAN. So what does R&R stand for?
Robertson and Robinson, rest and relaxation, all kinds of alliterations, but mainly Robertson and Robinson. My good friend Howard Robertson, who's a big brother to me, we decided to create a show back in 2013. And when we created the show, we did a pilot. And the pilot, really, we sent it out to a lot of different national syndicators. And they absolutely loved it. And we decided to go with a company out in San Francisco called Sports Byline. But in addition to that, we had a podcast. And the podcast was also distributed through all the major platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn app, and all that. So it's kind of us. That's where we started.
I love it.
Our Genesis. Our Genesis chapter.
And from that, we've developed multiple podcasts: Blues in the Basement, Riffing on Jazz, all of those amazing podcasts that you can listen to right now. All you have to do is go to your Apple Podcasts, type in those shows, and it'll pop up. Before we continue, I do want to make sure that you know that you can ask all of your questions in the comments. So any questions that you may have, I am periodically checking them. We're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of the social media platforms. So any questions that you have, definitely put them in the comments and we'll be sure to answer them. So going back into this, so Larry, we have our branded podcast,
right?
But let's talk about podcasts in businesses.
Absolutely.
So from there, we've grown to our podcast to now we've worked with multiple business, not only in the city of Memphis, but on a national level as well. We can talk Artivism.
Yeah, well, Artivism was here locally. It was created by a young lady by the name of Linda Steele, and was our first major corporate client. Actually, it was a nonprofit by the Art Up Foundation. And Linda had a real unique concept that I absolutely loved, and she believed in us and believed in the work we were doing. And ultimately, we created a show that was the intersection of art and activism, and was really cool. And we started there with our outside sort of podcast. Yeah.
That's
So
a pretty cool concept.
Well, in addition to that, we had the stuff we did for the city of Memphis. We had HCD, and shout out to new mayor-elect Paul Young, because he gave us our first opportunity to work with a municipality, and we created a show called Neighborhood Connect. Hold on. It's the bomb diggity. So that's Joyce Cox. I want to say shout out to Joyce Cox. She was his co-host, and that was our first municipal podcast. And then we got an opportunity with Shelby County government. Shout out to Van Turner and Karan Folsom, and we did a show called The Chairman's Perspective, which was really highlighting the work of our chairman, Shelby County Commission Chair, Van Turner at the time. But from there, we worked with City of Memphis, and we created our first podcast with a police organization, a law enforcement organization, which was called Best in Blue.
Best in Blue.
Which is award-winning. Well, we have 2 award-winning podcasts, which was Neighborhood Connect, which NUSA gave us an award for innovative concept, and then we had Best in Blue, which is also an award-winning podcast, and we actually just got an award for our work with the city, and Edge.
Yeah, we did.
That, and then we got another one, which is outside of the city of Memphis. Shout out to Paul Bryant and one of his colleagues, Lenoya Murphy, I think it is, and we produced H.J. Russell, who was out of Atlanta. And that was our first out of the city podcast. And we did that virtually. As well as we would go to Atlanta and produce there in person, and there in their lobby. Actually, we would produce their show called what was it called?
Why would you do that?
Oh, no.
Why would you do that?
Anyway, H.J. Russell's podcast.
We build.
We build.
We
That's
build.
it. We build. We build with H.J. Russell.
We build.
With Paul and Lanoya. So yeah, so we're not just confined to Memphis.
Yeah.
We've been in this game for a long time.
For a long time. And you brought up virtual podcasting, which
Yes.
is where we're kind of segueing to.
Yes.
And you mentioned H.J. Russell, but what really sparked the transition from in-studio podcasting to virtual podcasting? I think we all know.
Well, no. Actually, what sparked it happened before.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, H.J. Russell was a big part of that, but prior to that, we started doing some work with individuals with the city and county,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes they couldn't make it into the studio, or they wanted to interview people that were outside of the city.
Okay.
And so we started using platforms that allowed us to produce our show virtually.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing everybody know, when the world shut down a little bit, and that was COVID.
Yeah.
And so COVID, we were already ahead of the curve in doing virtual work. So then with COVID, everything moved virtual. So we ended up supplying all of our clients with headphones and microphones and things like that. And we took everything virtual for literally 2 years.
Yeah.
So we got pretty experienced in that whole virtual space, live streaming space. And here we are today, and what kind of really precipitated us going into a production company mode.
Yeah. I saw a comment. It's not necessarily a question, but they said that you all seem like such a dynamic company. So, well, thank you. Thank you. I like to say that we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like to say that we are. So, we've talked about podcasting. We've talked about the company KUDZUKIAN as a whole. We talked about virtual podcasting, and so we have developed what we call the Podcast Club. The Podcast Club is for you. It's for you. If you are looking to, like I said at the beginning, to start a podcast, or if the idea is here and you don't know where to start, or if you already have one and you just kind of want to level up in your production, that is what we're here for. And
Right.
That is what we offer, because we are experts in that area.
We are truly experts in that area. We have worked on many of the platforms, everything from Zoom to StreamYard to live stream to Ecamm to, just, you can go on and on and on. And so we got a good idea of what works and how we need to make it work in order to give you the absolute best opportunity to present yourself and your content. We believe in making thought leaders. So, there's no scenario where we look good and you don't. So we are truly here to support your efforts and your content production so that it gets the maximum amplification as well as distribution.
All of it. We do have a question that came in. What was your first live streaming event? I don't think I was here for the first live stream event.
So the first live stream event was with the Shelby County government. Well, during COVID, because it had shut down, we ended up having to produce the budget meetings so that the community could actually participate in hearing what was going on with the budget of Shelby County government. And shout out to Mark Billingsley, who basically said, we could do this. You can do this, KUDZUKIAN. I need you to do this. And we were able to pull it off. And we were at the Peabody Hotel, one place, and then Shelby Farms, which was another place, because we actually had to do 2 budget meetings. And those were our first live stream events.
Live stream, and now we are here. Again, thank you for that question. And also, again, those of you who are tuned in, please, if you have questions, put them in the comments. Make sure that you are following us on all of the social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We will be going live every week.
Every Wednesday. It'll go to noon though. It'll be at 12 noon Central, and we're gonna have lunch out here. So we're gonna have some lunch. You're going to have some lunch, and it's going to be KUDZUKIAN's live lunch, and we're going to talk about all things around podcasting. What kind of equipment you might need, how to start a podcast on a budget, business podcasting. What are the attributes that make a great business podcast? We're going to do podcasting for politicians, basically helping those individuals around the country what it looks like to do an internal podcast. So if you got a company and you want to have a podcast just for your employees with no one else, we can do that. Well, listen, you got a QR code out there too. So please go to the QR code and you'll get some free stuff. So every week we're going to have something new and unique for you to download. That's going to be something we give to you guys to actually help you in this process.
Yeah.
As I said, we've been at this for going on 10 years now, and we want to share that knowledge. We see a lot of people out there that are interested. I constantly I'm being pulled to the side as to what might be the best microphone, what might be the best platform. And so we felt like with that being the knowledge, in fact, we were recently at TSP. I'm a member of TSP, which is Traffic Sale Profit, which shout out Lamar Tyler down in Atlanta. And we were talking about the need for assistance in the podcasting space. And we felt like we were the best equipped to actually give some real insight as to what it will take to pull off a real nice podcast and once again propel you into the space of a thought leader.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We also have another question that came through. Come on with the question. All right, so the question is, and also shout out to the 5100 podcast. They left a comment, but the question is, do you have to have experience to join the podcast club? No, you do not. We have someone now, a shout out to Anastasis, and as we go through this series, we'll invite those people who have been members and are members of the podcast club to come and speak about their experience. But going back to her, she started off with an idea. She's never done podcasting before, so we met with her, we talked to her, and we said, you know what, we can help you in this area. And so again, we provided the equipment, we provide the space, we've given her a direction and coaching and all of those things to help her on this journey. And so that's what we're here to do. We want to help.
Right,
we want
absolutely.
to give you that knowledge because we want you to be successful. We want to bring what's here to life. And so you don't have to have experience to join a podcast club. So,
another is MJ and the Word.
MJ and the Word.
MJ and the Word. They had a podcast. They were producing their own podcast and actually had done a whole season of their podcast. But shout out to Mary McConnor and they basically said, hey, we need a space. We need a better recording space. And we wanted something a little bit more professional. So they came on board and literally we fell in love with them. They fell in love with us. And we're going to do more things with MJ and the Word because they have a great, great show. And
they do.
And that's a part of it. That's a part of it. We're going to grow this community together, whether you're on the virtual side or whether you come in studio. And you can do both, actually. We have multiple studios at KUDZUKIAN that'll allow you to be able to kind of have the experience that you want, and we can go from there. All right?
So it's still we got some stuff.
We got some more questions?
Coming in.
Okay.
Will every episode of Live Lunch, what we're doing now, feature podcasting or any of your other areas of expertise in the production realm?
We probably will to get to some of those other areas because, that is a part of all the things we do at KUDZUKIAN, especially live streaming. I think a lot of people have questions about multi-camera live streaming, and we're not talking about live streaming on your phone, but I mean literally in here we have 4 cameras set up for this production. We are B2B service mainly. That's where we cut our teeth, is working with corporations on how to utilize these platforms to amplify their messaging, amplify their advertising and everything. So we want to do the same to you. And that's why we created the podcast club, was to provide a B2C business to customer opportunity for individuals who wanted to do a podcast, but don't have those big budgets like those corporations do. We wanted to create something that would allow them to have some of this same technology benefit them and enhance and amplify their work.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one more time, if there's a QR code, so they're going to put it up right now. And again, just to kind of reiterate what Larry has said, these are going to be weekly conversations to allow you the chance to ask us any questions that you may have about starting your podcast. So the first step, what do you need to do? And we're here, we're available. And make sure that you download the free podcasting kit. We have that available for you. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. So if you head over to our site, www.KUDZUKIAN.com, sign up for our newsletter so that you can keep up with what we're doing here at KUDZUKIAN, okay?
One other thing you can do is you can click on the link in the comments and download the free Podcasting 101 kit. And once again, sign up for the newsletter, because we're going to be providing a lot of information, a lot of free information for you to be able to really benefit and amplify and enhance the work that you're doing. You may not ever work with us at KUDZUKIAN, but it doesn't mean that we can't share some information with you to really enhance what you're doing. We love great storytelling, and I mean, there's some tremendous storytellers in Memphis and way outside of Memphis. So we are here to help and amplify that, and we can do that through our virtual means. We work with several virtual platforms, so we're going to make sure we provide what's best for you, and we'll consult you on things like green screens, a chroma key, as some people would call it. We're going to, consult you on microphones. What type of microphones work well for you? One of our shows is going to be about starting a podcast on a budget. So you got to stay tuned and keep coming back to Live Lunch.
Live Lunch with KUDZUKIAN. So I'm Misty. I am Misty again. I'm the operations manager here. This is our amazing visionary.
We call her the tall general because she really does run this place. I'm just an employee.
That's what they say. Thank y'all. And again, make sure that you follow us on all of the social media platforms. Put this on your calendar weekly, Wednesdays at 12. We will be dropping knowledge about all things as it relates to podcasts. So again, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.